Hello and welcome to another episode of Get a Checkup from the Neck Up. My name is Jenny White. I'm your host. Welcome to Strong Heart Awakening. I'm the founder and creator of strongheartawakening.com. I'm a psychological therapist, life coach, blogger, and spiritual rebel. I love helping people helping themselves. We are talking every Wednesday, I had to think now, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday about topics that are interesting, about the topics people are really asking me to. And today is a very, very super interesting topic. And I have also a lovely, lovely friend of mine I will invite. She's a coach too. She's actually a parenting coach. And today we talk about, maybe you heard about millennials. Millennials are those people who are born around end of the 90s, beginning of the 2000s. And I came across that word actually, oh my God, a few months ago, because we, in this part of the world, in Europe, we don't use it as much. But in America, it's like a description of people who are very young, who are born at that time. And almost they get labeled being like really demanding, or they have a certain form of expectation. They want to make their dreams come true. So how dare you? And they're questioning certain things. Sometimes they're even being targeted or tarnished as lazy, which is very, very interesting. And we are talking about that, and also about the need to be perfect. So if you are somebody who's a perfectionist, come on here. So it's not only about parenting. Anything you can use on here, you can actually use in real life, in your job, in your relationships. Might it be professional or might it be friendly or romantic? You can use these techniques, and it will be really, really amazing. So I will invite my dear friend who's just come on here too, Erin Taylor, to talk a little bit about that, bust some myth, understand maybe what a certain generation is going through, and also how do we play a part in it? Because the generation now, so I'm in my 40s now, but the younger generation now, we are actually creating too. So what's our part of it? How can we help? How can we support to be the world a better place? And how can we live more in peace, right? So that's all about happiness. We want to create happiness in our life. And when that is actually not achieved, people get all sorts of stuff like anxiety, depression, anger issues, anything. It holds you massively back in life. And that's what we don't want. So I have every Wednesday and Friday, always a guest speaker now on in September, where we talk about these things. So I got dear friends of mine on. So that's fantastic. Hi, Melissa. So hi, Erin is on. Hi, Mary. Hi, Louise. So good to see you. Please feel free to share this up or tag people, or also post questions if that's helpful, and then come forward. So I can actually talk about that during the broadcast, so we can bring this question up. So feel free if you're live with us. And of course, if you're on replay, guys, no problem. Please, please, please message afterwards. Leave comments there, and we try to go back and answer these questions. So let me have a look to get Erin on for a moment. Dun, dun, dun. So, and your friend Erin, have a look what we can establish today. How can we help you guys? Hello, Erin. Thank you for joining.
Hi, Jenny.
Hi, it's so good to see you.
It is good to see you too.
Thank you. I'm so happy to have you on, because we know each other now for such a long time, and I absolutely admire your work. I'm not a parent myself, but the techniques and stuff you actually use, you can implement so easy in your life too, because all of a sudden, I have to say, I understand my childhood now a little bit better, what my mom tried to do, because sometimes our age group thinks, oh my God, why have I done this? Why I have not followed my dreams or anything like that? And I found that very, very fascinating. But first things first, if you can introduce yourself to the people, that would be fantastic.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Well, I think I should say, first of all, I'm a good friend of Jenny White's. I think that's
Yes.
a good first point to make.
Thank you.
But I am also a parent coach and educator, a mom of 4 kids myself, and a business owner and an author. And I wrote this book, Connection and Kindness, the Key to Changing the World Through Parenting.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. So, because I know you studied also psychology, right? So you
I
studied
did.
that too. And what made you, can I ask you actually, what made you to specify actually in parenting? What is fascinating you?
It's kind of funny because I've always known since I was 11 years old that I wanted to do this kind of work in the world. I had a wonderful childhood and a terrific relationship with my parents, and my parents were amazing. And when I was going through elementary school, I started looking around and realizing that other kids didn't seem to have the childhood that I had. And when I was 11, I decided that my life's work would be trying to help parents so that other kids could have the kind of relationship that I have with my, or that I had with my parents and the childhood that I had.
Can you explain a little bit what do you think was different? What was good for you and what did you see? What kind of maybe suffering did you see?
I saw kids who were unhappy.
Mhm.
I saw kids who, my classmates who would get punished for things.
Mm,
I think I saw that more as we got older, that you
mm,
would actually hear about it because
mm, mm,
people aren't going to come to school in 3rd grade and say,
mm,
I got punished for whatever. I don't
mm,
generally think that happens, but
mm,
I saw that people were just, they weren't getting along with their parents. And now
mm,
the really sad thing is that I hear from kids who say that they don't feel like they can talk to their parents. And I think,
mm,
my goodness, your parents should be your greatest guides. They're your first
mm,
guides in life. If you don't feel like you
mm,
can talk to them, who do you go to? And certainly there are
mm,
other people that kids can go to, other trusted adults. But it
mm.
makes me sad to think that kids don't feel that they can go to their parents for the guidance that they really should have.
Mm. So it sounded like your dad was pretty much supportive of what you were as a child, or was as a child, as a person, not necessarily only as a child, but very supportive and seeing who you really are. Do you think that is
Absolutely.
maybe like,
My
yeah,
parents always, and hello to everyone who's popping in and
yeah.
saying hi.
Hi, Elijah. Hi, Heidi. Thank you for dropping in. Yeah. So you was very supportive, right? So
My
you must
parents
have
were very
seen.
supportive. And my dad always said, I was the first person in my family to go to college. And my
Mm,
dad always said, you can do anything you want to do in life. You can do anything you set your mind to.
wow.
You are capable of anything. You're smart and you're creative. He was always filling my head with those messages. He never had an unkind thing to say to me. He never raised his voice to me. He was just the most amazing dad I could have ever asked for.
Mm,
And my mom was too. She
mm,
thought the world of me. And I feel like I hit the lottery with my parents. And I really I've dedicated my entire life to trying to help other parents so that their kids can feel the same way.
absolutely. And that sounds amazing because that's what we have also in adulthood, isn't it? We want to actually, and that's what I see in my practice, we actually want to be seen. We want to live who we are. And sometimes we fall into the trap of the treadmill, go to university, study, and then you get a high paid job, which is then not the case. Very often you have to work your butt off sometimes to really make your dreams come true, or what they promised actually, what you got promised. And we fall into the trap to compromising ourselves to really become then a people pleaser, which it
Mm-hmm.
becomes like that. So we portray a person maybe to our parents or other people, which we are not. And that's really, I found that very disturbing sometimes, because I have now people coming actually through to me who said, do you know, and they are sometimes in their 70s now, where they say, I never lived what I wanted to be. And they're crying, lots of tears. And it's
Yeah.
really such a sad thing. And when you said that, yeah, this is this is crazy, isn't it? So we are really, we, like you said, we are actually role models as them parents, and we should be actually the first person they want to contact to get
Yeah.
advice and help. So
Yeah.
why do you think they don't get, why do children will avoid actually their parents and not talk to them? Why, what would be the number one thing?
That is a fantastic question, and I have a couple of answers to that. But first, I
Mm,
wanted to comment on Heidi's comment. I remember, Heidi, you making, I think it was a video a while back talking about your mom and how much you love her and how lucky you were. So I'm
mm,
glad that you also feel like you hit the lottery.
mm,
As far as why kids don't talk to their parents, I think there are a couple of big factors that play into it. And I'm just thinking about peers of my kids, so let's not talk about my peers because they are already
mm,
adults. Let's talk about the kids who are kids
mm,
today.
mm,
And I've heard stories from peers of my various kids, my three kids that are living, um, that their mom flies off the handle when
mm.
when anything happens, the tiniest little thing, the mom flies off the handle. So the child decides, hi, Callie. Callie just joined us too.
Hi, thank you for joining. Hi, Sylvia.
So the mom decides that any little thing is, the end of the world. So she flips out, and then the kid immediately decides, well, forget this. I don't want to deal with this response out of my mom.
Mm.
I'm done with this. I'm just not going to tell her anything anymore. Or, yes, we are talking about your favorite topic, Callie.
Yeah. Bless her.
Or
Welcome.
the the child gets punished. This is another
Mm.
thing we were going to talk about today. But the child gets punished in a way that doesn't match what they've done. It's not a natural consequence,
Mm.
and it doesn't feel good. It builds resentment in the child. It makes them angry. It disconnects them from their parent. And then they just decide. I mean, it's human nature for all of us
Mm.
to want to
Mm.
avoid discomfort,
Mm.
right? I mean, who's going to seek that
Absolutely.
out? There are a few people in the world who their wires might be a little crossed in their head and they do seek out discomfort. But for the
Yeah.
most part, we want to avoid discomfort. So if our parents are punishing us, we're going to hide things from them. We're going to lie to them. We're not going to tell them the
Mm.
truth. And we're
Mm.
certainly not going to come to them when we have a problem.
Mm. Absolutely not. And I mean, it's still, I remember certain things when, also as a child, and I see it today also in youngsters, when they express themselves. And then again, they say, the millennials, they are horrible, they are lazy, they do this, they question me, how dare they? And it's really interesting. I found it interesting that we call them now the millennials because they have been born at a certain time. And then it's so negative, bless
Excuse
you.
me.
It's
Thank
so
you.
negative. I found it so horrible because that generation has to deal with a lot.
Yes,
The
they
whole
do.
education system is not working as it was at our time. We have now social media, we have the internet, jobs are totally different. Payment, you get paid completely different in the way that some people have to keep up certain jobs, you don't have only one job, you have two, three jobs. Or
Mm-hmm.
you might think, okay, I study, but at the end of my studies, I'm not getting this high flying job. I actually end up maybe with minimum wage, like over here. And then they have debts, minimum wage, they're frustrated. The parents don't understand current times now. They told you one thing, they punished you maybe into something, into a job, And it's still going on. Like you said, we punish children and don't see them so they don't come to us. They might be maybe hiding things, or maybe even mix with groups we don't want them to mix with,
Mm-hmm.
so you have, they don't feel seen. And
Yeah.
I totally get that. So what is your stand on punishment? Because I know a lot of parents say we don't want to have that kind of freestyle kind of parenting, and then the children stay up all night and then they only eat chocolate and watch TV or play on PlayStation. So they need to have a certain routine and they need to have stricter rules. So where do you stand? Because some people, I think, misunderstand what conscious parenting is. It's not letting them run the whole household and giving them telling them they can do whatever they want. So what's for you, how's your stand on punishment, or how would you parent something when they might have done something where you think, oh my God, my child is going down some really dodgy, like we say, dodgy over here in the UK, roads. So you want to prevent something, obviously. That's the reason why they're punished, right?
Right, that's a great question. And I think I actually just did a podcast episode on this, which will come out next week. But
Mm,
I think it's important, at least for me, it feels important to define the words that I use so that when anybody's hearing what I say, they understand the context that I'm using them in.
mm,
I think consequence and punishment can be interchangeable, and that's when things start getting a little murky and unclear. And so I think that my definition of punishment is giving the child some consequence that is unnatural and unrelated to the thing that they did, the mistake that they made, the poor choice, the poor judgment that they used. So a
mm,
punishment would be something that we slap down on them, metaphorically, hopefully, that is not related at all.
mm,
Like if our child talks back, we say, okay, you lose video game time for the rest of the day.
mm,
That has nothing to do with talking back.
mm,
And so, punishment, that's how I look at punishment. And then a consequence would be something that is natural or logical
mm,
to the situation.
mm,
And before we even talk about punishments and consequences, I think the most important thing, the very first thing, is to figure out, see if we can understand what is going on for the child that might have contributed to them doing what they did. So, in the case of
mm,
talking back, we have to look at why the child talked back before we get triggered. And it's all like I keep thinking I could go back and back and back. It
mm,
requires us to take care of ourselves so that
mm,
we have the energy and the reserves to interact in the best, healthiest way with our child. But before, as long as we're feeling good and balanced and centered, before we allow ourselves to get triggered because our child talked back,
mm,
we have to think, hmm, they're talking back to me. I wonder why. What's going
mm,
on? Are
mm,
they hungry? Are they tired? Did they have a bad day?
mm,
Are they overstimulated? I mean, depending on
mm,
their age, it could be any of these things.
mm,
Did they just get in an argument with their friend? Did they,
mm,
if they're older, did they read something upsetting or
mm,
offensive on social media? Did someone do
mm,
something or say something about them?
mm,
And so, if you can kind of get to the root of the talking back, either you figure it out on your own or talk to your child about it, then it steers the direction of the interaction in a totally different way. So if you haven't done that first step, then you might say, how dare you talk back to me? I am your mother. Do not speak to me like that. Go to your room. You don't get any video games. You're not going out this weekend. Never talk to me like that again. Okay, so that might stop the child from talking back because it's human nature to want to avoid
mm,
discomfort.
mm,
But what have we learned? The child and the parent are separated. They're now disconnected. The child is angry. The parent is angry. Nobody understands anybody. And the biggest thing is the parent doesn't even know why the child talked back. And so the parent can't even help the child. And so the child isn't going to come to the parent the next time that they have a problem because the parent abandoned them, sort of, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if we keep going with that example, the child talks back and we think, okay, I wonder what's going on for them. Maybe we can figure it out, especially if they're younger. If they're younger and they're talking back, we can think, oh, when was the last time they ate? Are they hungry? Are they tired? Are they overstimulated? Do they need to be stimulated? Have they been on screens too long? They need to run around? What's going on? With an older child, you might have to actually talk to them. My 16-year-old son, when he's in a bad mood, all I usually have to say is, wow, you seem really grouchy. And teens and toddlers are very similar to each other. So usually my thing is, are you hungry, tired, or in pain? And sometimes we were little, Sylvia. But sometimes when I ask those 3 questions, he'll say, yes, I'm in pain. Practice was really hard yesterday and I am sore. Or he'll say, I'm starving. I haven't eaten since breakfast. Whatever. And then those things would be easy to address. So then I say, oh, well, do you want me to give you a back rub? Do you need some medicine? Do you want that sports cream to rub on your sore muscles? Do you need to stretch? He really likes, we have a roller that rolls out your muscles, like rolls out the knots.
Yeah. Nice.
So I'll say, do you want me to roll you out? So if it's something like that, now I've acknowledged that he's being grouchy and being rude. I've shed light on it. So we've brought attention to it. And we figure out, oh, it's because his muscles are sore. And then I help him to feel better physically so that he's not in pain. And then there's no more reason to be grouchy.
Absolutely.
So on the backside of that, now we're getting along and we're connected. And he knows that the next time he has a problem, he can come to me because he can trust me that I am going to help him out.
Absolutely. I mean, Kelly was saying, I hope I pronounce her name right. She was saying she was just talking about that with her daughter yesterday, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Also, I'm thinking about that. So I know, for example, as a psychological therapist and recovery coach, that your brain is actually developing until you're 25.
Yeah.
So your children, or we as children, we try to learn how to deal with emotions. So the part of your brain who's dealing with emotions is still developing. So you try to make sense of this world. And sometimes children cannot express them. So we need to help them expressing them. Like a baby. When a baby is crying, because they can't talk, so they cry. They might, I don't know, they might have constipation, or they're also tired, or they're teething, or they just want to have a cuddle, or they don't want to sleep, they're too hot. They can't talk.
Right.
Because we learned how to talk doesn't mean that we can make sense of our emotions. So so we help actually our children to make really sense of what they're feeling, especially teenagers. Imagine what hormonal changes they're going through. They have to make sense. All of a sudden, everything is not the same. You become an adult. You have to deal with emotions and certain hormonal changes. And this is not easy. That's not easy. So you might be grouchy, or you might not want to talk about that you actually feel tearful, or that you feel maybe rejected, or you've gone through a heartbreak because you loved somebody so much at school. So you feel like embarrassed maybe to talk to your mom that you fancy a guy, a boy, or whatever, because all of a sudden you turn from child to teenager who has those emotions, because we have them. So they have to learn. So if we don't approach them, I can totally see also why adults have them problems to address emotions, because they have maybe not learned in their childhood to express them and say, look, are there needs? It's actually expressing and telling people what you need and telling yourself. So there might be later in your adulthood that you feel like you neglected yourself or you don't take care of yourself and you're
Mm-hmm.
depressed or anxious or you feel you're totally detached to the world. So that's what
Yep.
I see coming through when I work with adults, because I find
Mm-hmm.
it totally fascinating. It's actually like when I hear people saying the millennials, they're also horrible. Well, you actually help them to understand the world or not understand or not express the world. So we have actually responsibilities too. So we
Mm-hmm.
help them to express and survive in this world. And if we teach them certain things, and you know, I'm a big fan of Gary
Hi,
Vaynerchuk. He talked
Jamie.
about that before. Hi, Jamie. Thank you for joining. Ellie Jin. Hello for joining. I will come back to questions after a while so we can go through them and answer them too. And he was saying that too. He said, we are actually responsible too, and the world is changing. So our old
Yeah.
system is not, we are moving forward, it's not working. So you can't
Right.
say, you are not allowed to become an artist. You have to stay in the office and do this because this is what you do and you stay in one job. It's not possible anymore because it's fluctuating so quickly and it's developing so quickly. So I found that very fascinating. So I totally can see what you mean with punishing, because when I felt my mom was punishing me, not seeing me, I got totally hurt because I felt judged. I felt like she's not seeing me as a person, and then that she doesn't love the person who I really am, that she only loves the person she wants to perceive. And I know she meant well. So after a long period of time, when you get older and sit together then with your parents, they actually then say, okay, I only wanted your best. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a learning curve, right? So we teach our parents as much as the parents teach us too.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And the other thing that I always tell my clients is that
Mm,
it is so important to remember that each
mm,
and every one of us, including our parents and
mm,
including us, we are
mm,
doing the very best we are capable of in that moment, given our state of mind, our experiences, our information, where we are in life. We're doing the best we can. So even our parents, if they let us down, betrayed us, hurt us, if they spanked us, or whatever,
mm,
they were doing what they felt was the best they could do in that moment.
mm,
And so I think forgiveness is a big part of it for us
mm,
when we grow up and we start looking back at our own
mm,
childhoods. You
mm,
know, some parents just did not do a good job.
mm,
And but they were doing the best they were capable of, because if they were capable of more or something better, they would have done it, because it's also in our human nature to do the best we can. And so
absolutely.
I think forgiveness is very important when we're looking back on our own parents, but also when we're looking at ourselves as parents. We mess
Mm,
up constantly. And
mm,
so many parents beat themselves up
mm,
over things they've done or ways they've snapped or yelled at their kids or whatever, and they
mm,
feel terrible, and they have to forgive themselves.
mm,
And I always tell them it's never too late to change, whether your child is 5 or 15 or
mm,
25.
mm,
And it kids kids are so resilient, and they're so loving, and they're so gracious. And if we go to them and say, you know what, I really screwed up yesterday, I should never have said that or done that or treated you that way, I was dealing with my own stress and whatever. You don't have to
mm,
dump that stuff on them, but
mm,
just say,
mm,
I realized that I wasn't very nice and I'm really sorry about that.
mm.
99% of the time, the child will be like, it's okay, mommy. It's okay, daddy. I forgive
Yeah.
you. It's
Oh, it's
beautiful.
true. It's true. And thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, we do our very best at every time. And as you can apply that with whatever you think you are doing in life. It doesn't matter if it's your job, like any relationships at all. And I see that too. I found that very interesting, Erin, because I see that too. A dear friend of mine who's working here in the community, she works together with women with postnatal depression. And that bit is also, so you have also parents who want to do everything perfect. They want to do. She told me it's crazy times. It's not only that you maybe have like a hormonal imbalance, that you might, after a child is born, feel a little bit down because the hormones are all over the place, kicking in, and you have to deal, adapt to a new situation. She told me, for example, she has people coming in who had this idea because they get it maybe from certain Instagram photos or how social
Oh,
media
yes.
sometimes portrays that. You get into shape back in within 6 weeks, you are like that. Or you cook from scratch and you cook your own baby food, or you breastfeed. And if you can't breastfeed, or if you have problems with this, you feel like almost guilty to tell people that you don't breastfeed, or your house looks like a mess because your baby was crying all night, you were tired, you look a mess, you didn't put makeup on, you didn't do your hair, and people say, look, she let herself go. And then she feels like maybe her partner comes home and the food on the table needs to be top notch. Like, it's really interesting. So they implement, she said to me, Jenny, they implement the so-called 1950s perfect housewife into today's society, and on top of it they think they have to go back to work too and manage it, so they have picked up lots of balls to juggle, and they realize they cannot be perfect. So they might not feel love at the moment, but they feel absolutely exhausted because they haven't slept. So they have guilty feelings that they think, oh my God, this is a nightmare. I wish I would not become a mom. Some of them think like that, which I think it's normal if you're stressed. Doesn't mean you don't love your child. It means you're just exhausted. But they
Yep.
keep up with it. And also the weight thing and looking perfect for women, massive, massive thing. I don't know if you came across that. So sometimes it's not even in first, when you're a first time parent. I knew somebody where it kicked in when they become for the third time a parent, and they could
Hmm.
not juggle anymore. But what
Well,
what have you perceived?
I want to I want to comment on the Instagram thing.
Yeah,
This just happened yesterday. I was on Instagram, and I'm connected to a lot of people in the parenting space, right?
yeah.
Bloggers and different people like that. Um, I saw two different Instagram photos yesterday. The first one was a picture of a woman holding an infant like this, a very little infant. And she
Mm,
was like, the mirror must have been there, and she was taking a picture of herself in the mirror. And so when I opened Instagram and I saw this
mm,
photo, it caught my eye because I looked
mm,
at the baby and I thought, wow, that baby is young. Is that the baby's mother? Because I wasn't familiar with who
mm,
this person was. And
mm,
so I looked at the comment or the text that went with the photo,
mm,
and it was a picture of her and her baby, and the baby was 6 weeks old. The
mm,
woman looked like she was a size 0,
mm.
and she said it was her 5th baby. And I just looked at this picture and I was like, you have superhuman genes. How in the world do you look like that and your child is 6 weeks old? Oh my goodness. And she had black leggings, and maybe they were slimming, maybe they weren't, maybe she airbrushed the photo. I don't even know. But I was flabbergasted at this photo and how this woman could look like this on baby number 5, 6 weeks in, 6 weeks after the birth. So I just thought of that and I thought, well, I don't even have words for that.
Yeah.
That was not my experience. And I don't actually know anyone in real life who had that experience. So that doesn't seem real to me. And then later on in the day, I saw a photo, similar kind of photo, mom holding the baby on the chest, taking a picture of herself in the mirror. She had like almost like a jogging bra on so you could see her stomach. And
Yeah.
she also had some kind of stretchy pants on, but she was obviously postpartum. Her
Mm.
belly was huge. She had stretch marks on her skin. Her baby, I think, was 3 weeks old.
Mm.
But in the comment, in the text part, she said, "This is me and my baby at 3 weeks old. This is what I look like." My
Mm.
toddler said to me this morning, "Wow, mommy, your belly's still so big. Are there more babies in there?" Which is a really cute thing, but that's
Yeah.
real. That's
Mm.
real for 99% of women. And so I
Mm.
had the deepest respect for this woman. And this photo was not flattering at all to the woman,
Mm.
but I had the deepest respect for her putting that picture online and saying, "Look, this is reality." And she did say that in the comment or in the text that this is her postpartum body. This is what it looks like. It's not a size 1. It's not perfect. She's exhausted and she's happy. And so happy, as a mom. But I
Mm.
think she's able to be happy also. Well, obviously she doesn't, I mean, I would assume from her comment that she doesn't have hormonal issues that would cause
Mm.
that kind of postpartum depression.
Mm.
And I don't want to
Mm.
insinuate that that's not a real thing, because it
Mm.
certainly is. But
Yeah.
I think we can become more depressed or more unhappy if we try
Mm.
to live up to that size 0 perfect body, skinny little
Mm.
mini with the new
Mm.
baby, instead of being like, okay, this is what it actually is. So let me give myself
Mm.
a break. Let me stop worrying about feeling shame and embarrassment about
Mm.
me and my body. Let me just
Mm.
bond with my child. That's what really
Mm.
matters at that point. Doesn't matter if you're exercising or running or fitting into
Mm.
your old jeans. That's not the point at 6 or 3 weeks in.
Mm. I think also we are really saying sometimes, I have the feeling, so that's my perception, that we feel that man would think we are not attractive. And that's not the case. So there we portray actually a really shallow male where we say they have no understanding, they don't find us attractive, they only are there because we are looking so pretty, we are all together. We don't give them, I think, enough also credit that they love us for who we are, that they are not only like you're a nice package because you can apply your makeup perfectly and your hair looks like on fleek, like we say over here, so on fleek. You can walk these in killer heels, and that's
Yeah.
the reason why I'm with you. So of course, if you're with a man like that who's only wanting to have that, then it's obviously not a good relationship. So better waving them goodbye. But I think we don't give these men enough credit because they are not shallow. They know they're not stupid that you give birth to a baby. They are not like, okay, they haven't heard of stretch marks or tiredness or things like that. So I think this is also something we have to bear in mind. Men are not shallow, they know too, more than ever now these days. And they're very understanding and they also want to help. They want to. So, what my friend came then across is that actually these women who think they have to be the 1950s housewife, and some of them were actually really career women. And they went from career woman into motherhood, into looking after all the house and everything because they thought, hey, I had a really high flying career. That should be a piece of, mm-hmm,
Mm-hmm.
it should be easy peasy. They go in and they thought, oh my God, it's worse. Let me go back to my job. So men are actually wanting to help. Men cook, men can clean, men can iron, men can clean. Yeah, they can look after the baby. They might not be able to breastfeed, but they can do this too. So they want to be actually engaged. That's what I find. But
I have
it's,
another thing to add to that, and I'm
yeah,
not trying to bash women. I really am not,
no.
because I stumbled through this myself as well. But
Yeah.
what I have found with many people I know who become parents, the dads actually do want to help and they want to contribute.
Mm,
They want to
mm,
take care of the baby. They want to take care
mm,
of the little child. And the mom has such an unreasonably high standard of how it has to be done, which order you put, how far up you put the diaper cream, and which order you put the socks on versus the onesie. And you can't roll the child to the left, you have to roll them to the right. And they're so
God.
demanding of their husbands that they almost squelch that desire to participate and be involved with their child. And then
Oh
they
my
turn
God,
around and
yeah.
complain that the dad doesn't help. So I think really, particularly new moms, and I'm glad to hear that, Sylvia, that your son is engaged and conscious. There are so many engaged,
Yeah.
conscious men out there who are
Yes.
trying, really trying. And the best thing we can do to support them is to give them some space. Maybe, I know when some moms don't want to leave the house and leave the kids with the dad because they
Mm.
don't like how the dad's going to do it.
Yeah.
I know when I leave the house, it is like a free for all. I love my husband. He's very conscious and engaged, and they eat more junk food than I would care for them to eat. They spend more money than I would care for them to eat. Whatever. They go do all kinds of fun things. And you know what? They love it. The kids love
Mm.
that time with their dad. And if I prevented that, what would I be depriving them of? All of them.
Mm. Mm.
So I think it's really important for moms to just accept that dad's not going to do it the way you do it. It's not
Mm.
going to probably meet your standards. It's just not going to
Mm.
be that way. But
Mm.
as long as they're keeping the child safe, we want to
Mm.
make sure the child is safe. But as long as their safety is attended to, then just give the dad some
Absolutely.
space, let them mess up, let them do it however they want. It's going to be fine. And it's going to be better
Uh,
for the child and the dad to bond.
it isn't. You create funny stories. I remember, I have to tell you a story, Erin. I remember when my stepdad looked after us because my mom had to go somewhere or something. It was horrendous. It was really funny. So what happened? What happened? He thought he puts a nice pizza in the oven, and he put a pizza in the oven, took the pizza out, and actually he forgot to remove the plastic around the pizza, so it melted in. But till
Oh, yeah.
today, we are all laughing about that. But my mom made a big fuss. Oh my God, I can't leave you alone. You can't even do a pizza. You can't even do this. You forgot that. But it's a nice memory. So it's not that we
Yeah.
children got harmed or anything like that. It's not that we ate a plastic pizza and didn't say anything. We were laughing. We were laughing, and then we took another pizza out of the oven and done it. But there are stories too, and yeah, well, if a child actually doesn't have the right socks on or certain style, because that's now also in fashion, apparently, that you dress your kid up, and then lots of moms think they have to buy these beautiful, expensive clothes and don't go second hand, but they grow so quickly, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's also like you said, they might not do the same. They might do some shortcuts. Maybe they sit there with chocolate ice cream and eat that all night and watch TV with their
Yes.
dad or anything like that, but it won't harm them. It gives the dad also bonding time. And I think that's very vital too, so that you have both parents in your life. But I found there are funny stories out of it. So it's actually funny. And children know their routine. They would say, Dad, this is not how we do it.
Mom
But
doesn't
it's
do it like
okay.
this, Dad.
No, mom doesn't. So they highlight that actually. We think also children sit there and say nothing, but they actually would say that if it's a routine they're not used to or they feel this should not be like that, they would actually mention this. It's funny, funny, funny. Wow, Erin, I really love that. We need to do this again because I think, see, I'm not a parent, but it helps me also to understand my mom. So all these conscious parenting books really help me also to go to peace with my parents, and say, okay, yeah, like you said, they've done the best they could. We all
Mm-hmm.
do the best we can. And
Mm-hmm.
even it sounds horrendous, I came across people who got really punished or the dad doesn't understand. It's really comforting to know that's all they could give me. That's okay. There's no need of jealousy of other people who have maybe parents who are different. It's understanding that you can implement that in your life. So what I found also that of course, you have then people in your life or invite people in your life who nurture you because you make that decision. Does that make sense? So you actually become self-aware who you want in your life because you
Mm-hmm.
can choose. Maybe you can't choose your family you were born in necessarily, but you can choose them with whom you want to connect and how you want to change.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could give one advice, have we talked about everything? Perfectionism, conscious parenting, mindfulness. Oh my God, we covered it all, isn't it? If you would give one advice or something out there in regards to conscious parenting, which is a mindful way of living anyway, what would you do? Because I will go to some questions in a moment before we wave goodbye. So what would be your number one advice?
Well, my number one advice has a couple of pieces to it. Know
Okay.
yourself, take care of yourself, and see and love your child for who they truly are.
Beautiful. Yeah, because that's what we want too, isn't it? So let me have a quick look. I'm scrolling through. Thank you for everybody for joining. So please feel free to share this up. So let me have a look. There's some people shared. They all said hello. And Louise was saying fear of being judged by parents, fear of not living up to expectations. That's a big thing, isn't it? So we put actually expectations on children too. What do you actually think about that, Erin? When we expect something like a certain job, maybe in severe cases, or certain behavior?
Well, isn't it interesting because it gets back to what our mentor Gary Vaynerchuk is always talking about, that parents push kids to do things because it will make them feel good and proud in front of their friends. And it may not have
Mm.
anything to do with what the child is good at, what they're interested in, what they should be doing. And if parents aren't careful, they can push their kids into a job or a career where they're going to wake up one day and they're not going to be happy.
Mm.
And they're not going to feel fulfilled, and they're going to have resentment and regret. And that's just no way for anybody to live if they can help it.
Mm.
So
I,
the fear of judgment of other parents is a big, big thing. You
mm.
simply must drown it out. You have to. I I have always tried when a parent has made a comment or a suggestion or pointed something out to me like a peer, I've I try to listen to what they say and then think, okay, well, is this a legitimate thing that I need to change? Because
Mm.
people may see something that we're doing that's a little not as good as it could be. And if they're
Mm.
pointing it out and trying to help us, then we should
Mm.
at least hear what they say. But
Mm.
if
Totally.
they're saying it from a judgmental place, oh, your child your child isn't playing on the A soccer team? Oh, your child isn't signed up for piano lessons at age 4? Oh, well, I guess you're that kind of family, you know?
I
When
know
you,
people do this. It's become almost like they're performers. They have to be performers and have to be that super child. So it's a competition they enter you in, isn't it? It's like, where's that
yeah,
coming from?
yeah, it's crazy. So if a
Yeah.
parent if a fellow parent makes a comment to you and it's completely judgy, then ignore it. It's a waste of your time and energy. But if they say, wow, it really seems, I see the way you're snapping at your child. It seems like you're stressed. Okay, well, that has a totally different tone and energy to it. And then maybe that's something that we
Mm.
really need to take a look at. Maybe we need
Mm.
help, support to take care of
Mm.
ourselves, whatever. But it's the judging and the comparing and the one upping. Oh my goodness, it's trash. Just ignore it. Forget about it. It
Yeah.
just doesn't
And I
matter.
think we should not think then, we should be happy about that. I think always, when somebody would say that, oh, you're not piano lessons or anything like that, I always think then, yeah, because maybe I listen to my child, your child might like piano, maybe doesn't like piano, and sits there
Right.
and think, oh my God, I just want to be on the swing outside in the garden and play in the dirt, for
Mhm.
example. I found that very interesting that that becomes almost like a performer for the family or shower for the family and representing that they become like a representative of the values of the family. And then they are 4 years old and they actually don't want to. And if they maybe have a tantrum, it gets embarrassing, but it's normal because they try to make sense of this world. So they
Mhm.
try again, coming back to the brain developing. They're not all coming out of your womb and behave perfectly and start to walk and talk and speak four languages and play the piano and tomorrow the violin, and then they become the perfect tennis player, and I don't know, or maybe think I found that very interesting. I found that fascinating. So yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look. Sylvia said my kids went from mom knows everything to mom knows nothing to mom always gives me thoughtful advice. I won't make a big decision without talking to her. That's beautiful. That's normal too, right? When we go through stages where we think, and I remember that too. The parents know everything. They sussed everything out. They have no problems. Maybe we think that, and then when we grow up, we think, no, they make mistakes. Hold on a moment. They make mistakes too, or this was wrong. Then we question
Mhm.
it, and then we grow older. Then we actually dive into the wisdom of our parents again. And I'm
Mhm.
actually grateful for feedback because all of a sudden we see why they struggled, maybe because all of a sudden we are in a time of our adulthood where we then understand why they struggle because maybe we
Mhm.
have children or we just got into a job we didn't like or we hit certain kind of obstacles in life. I
Mhm.
found that interesting. So that's actually normal. That don't you find it normal that children say, mom, you don't understand me, or no, it's not working like that. So how do you deal with that? Because sometimes we have a different opinion maybe, or we can't see what they are seeing.
Well, I think there's two things there. It is very normal, especially for a teenager, to say, "Ugh,
Mm.
you couldn't possibly understand. You couldn't possibly understand my struggles because the struggles of a teenager are so epic, right?"
Yeah,
So that part
it
is
is.
normal,
Yeah.
absolutely normal. And what we were talking about earlier with um, a child not wanting to come to their parent because they don't
Mm.
understand, that's like a legitimate problem, in my opinion. But the child may, even if the parent truly does understand and is connected and is conscious and aware and attuned and all that stuff, the child might still say, you can't possibly understand. I'm the only one who ever had this problem. No one else has gone through this. You won't understand what I'm going through. That part,
Yeah.
totally normal.
Yeah.
But I'll tell
And
you,
we
the
do
other
it
night,
too.
what did you say?
We do it too. Sorry about that. Adults still do it. We think we are
Oh,
only
yeah,
the only people. Yeah. Sorry about that.
that's okay. The other night, I was up talking to my son the night before the first day of school. I was up talking to my son until after midnight, my 16-year-old.
Wow.
Oh, thank you, Louise. He applied for a job with his friends, and his two friends got the job, and he didn't. And he was crushed, and he didn't want to talk about it. At first, he didn't want to talk about it. It's over. I don't care. Blah blah blah. I don't want to talk about it ever again.
Mm.
I kind of forced him to talk about it a little bit because I want him to know that running away from our struggles is not a good thing. And I tried to impart the message of, we have to learn from our failures. Maybe the
Mm.
interview didn't go so well. Can you think of
Mm.
anything that you did that you shouldn't have
Mm.
done, or you should have done that you forgot to do,
Mm.
or a way that you
Mm.
conducted yourself or spoke?
Mm.
We talked about that a little bit. And then we were done talking. That was earlier in the evening. And then when I
Mm.
went to his room to say goodnight, all of a sudden I'm sitting there for an hour and a half talking to him.
Mm.
And then once I looked at the phone and realized how late it really was, I said, he had kind of gotten it all off of his chest. And I said, wow, but he could have probably gone for another hour and a half. But I said, wow, it's really late and you have school tomorrow. You probably should get to bed. And he's like, yeah, you're right. And I said, well, do you feel better? At least, do you feel any better? And he said, yeah, I do. I said, you feel like you kind of got it off your chest? And he said, yeah, I can't talk about this with anybody else. Nobody else understands.
Oh.
And I thought, he's the kind of kid who's very analytical. He's not very emotional. He's very practical. He's doesn't really like to talk unless he's in the mood. You know, he's like what you would think of as a typical guy. And for him to make that statement really showed me that he really does feel like I heard him. I received all of his download of all that stress and pressure and the disappointment and the annoyance and the embarrassment. And so he kind of relieved himself of that. And he actually feels like I get him. So, I mean, that one comment, and it wasn't a mushy gushy like, oh, Mom, you get me. It wasn't like that. He just said, I can't talk about this to other people because they don't get it. That was like all the fuel I need for a year. That's it. It just says, you're doing a good job. Keep doing what you're doing. So when our kids give us those little nuggets, those little breadcrumbs on the trail, they'll tell you if you're doing a good job and you're handling them in the way that is most supportive and functional. Pick them up and hold on to them and celebrate them and keep doing more of that.
And that's beautiful. I think listening is so vital too. And in this world anyway, I'm a big believer, and we can apply that again to anything. If you have a partner who feels like they shut down, it's often offering this listening ear and say, what's going on? Even if you sit down with a hot chocolate or whatever you want, or with a nice meal and say, come on, let's talk about it. Let's switch the TV off, or let's just talk about how can I help you? You seem to be not happy. And I think this is actually what a lot of people miss. And you open doors, and then just talking. And I know that my tutor I learned under, she was a specialist in trauma. It's actually little traumas we are going through.
Yes.
And when we can digest, we digest it in the best way when we talk. And somebody's just listening to us without judgment and starting to fix you. It's just sitting with you and looking at different options without saying, you need to do this, or you are a failure and you should know better. And this is, you make sure next time you get that, or something like that. Or even worse, some parents might even say, oh my God, you will never achieve that, which for some children, it's like, oh my God, I'm a loser, so they will never try again. So it's actually these tiny little traumas we have with failure, little obstacles. When we talk about them, they go from that big, if you can see it, from that big to that big.
Yes.
Because all of a sudden we talked it out. It's how our brain is digesting trauma. So we are talking about it. If we cap it, for anybody, and especially I think for children, if we cap it and don't let them talk or help them to get that out, if we cap that, they ruminate. So they carry that kind of trauma a lot longer, and then it's heavy on the soul. We know that if we feel nobody understands us, or we cannot talk about things, it's heavy, right? Feeling. Oh my God, it's so heavy. You feel like, oh, and then you meet maybe somebody and you talk, and they just listen. They just hold that space for you. You have a beautiful connection. Beautiful connection. Oh, Erin, I love that. We have so much we could go on. We are nearly an hour on. Do you know that?
Oh my goodness.
I like chit-chatting. Chit-chatting is good, deep talk.
Me too.
Oh, Selton is working right now. We'll watch replay later. Happy Friday. He comes on always, and I think he will take a lot of things out of that too. Rebecca, I have 4 children. They are all different, but all have their own qualities. I love that. Right. So we don't compare our children to each other. So this is the better child. Look, you should look at that. That can happen sometimes in families too. Your brother's doing it right and you're doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We have that sometimes too. I like that when we highlight different qualities in our children because they're individuals. They're not all the
Yes. Good
same.
job, Rebecca.
Absolutely. So I wave goodbye. I would love to do this again, Erin. Just have a chit
Yes,
chat in general. Can we maybe say when people leave comments on here or questions that we might go in and answer it, give maybe a little
absolutely.
answer? And can you mention your book again? Because this is really lovely and lots of people don't know and they should know. Can you
Oh,
mention
thank
your
you.
book again?
Sure. It is called Connection and Kindness, the Key to Changing the World Through Parenting.
Beautiful. And that's what you do. You're world changers. You are amazing people. So I love that. Can you link that too? Link your page too, please, and link your book page after that,
Yes, I
Erin,
can
so
do that.
people know how to order it and get it. That would be fantastic. So great to have you on here. And thank you, everybody, for coming in. That was Get a Checkup from the Neck Up today. All parenting millennials, be feeling perfect, conscious parenting, very vital. Get that book. It's amazing. So I love you a lot. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Louise. Thank you, Dolores. You're rocking. Thank you, Kelly, for sharing. Thank you, Sylvia. And oh my God, I miss them. I always start like that, Erin, I tell you. Louise, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
So I wave
everyone.
goodbye. Thank you. See you all soon. See you next Tuesday, next Monday. I get always confused. Next Monday on here, 4 p.m. British Summer Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That was Get a Checkup from the Neck Up. My host is Jenny.
I love it.
My host is Jenny White. That's how I am. It's Friday mood. My name is Jenny White. I'm your host with Erin Taylor today, who is a parenting coach. My dear friend. See you all soon. TTFN. Ta-ta for now. Mwah.
Mwah.